Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Don Mafia Report, live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST, where I break down every single piece of information that is coming out of the rumor mill in Buffalo. And what a time to have an episode, because last night we all ended up getting some shocking news. I suppose maybe it's not shocking news, since this seems to be a yearly trend, a yearly tradition when we bring back our old friend Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle. I got to tell you what, this is probably a gross exaggeration, but I feel like this has to be the sixth time that this has happened, that this guy has ultimately been signed by the Buffalo Bills. And interestingly enough, just a couple of months ago, he mentioned the only way he was coming to play in the NFL once again was going to be if the Buffalo Bills were to sign him. So what does that mean for the 53-man roster, folks? We saw our first trend of players get released from the Bills yesterday, and we thought that we really had it all figured out. What our defensive line was going to look like, what our defensive tackle room, more notably, was going to look like going into the season. I got to tell you what, Phillips changes everything. I genuinely have no idea. I have some theories, and I'm going to give them to you this morning. But damn, what a surprise. I'm excited to unpack that. I am excited to unpack any further questions we may have for the upcoming roster deadline for this Buffalo Bills 53-man roster. Damn, I'm so excited. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. As many of you know, I was live yesterday, impromptu at 3 p.m. EST. I had my buddy Kevin on. We started unpacking a lot of the things we anticipated from the 53-man roster deadline, which is happening in a bit over 24 hours. But today I am pumped to discuss some business with my friends. As always, I ask each and every single one of you, as you are coming in, hit that thumbs up sign. We are attempting to build one of the largest live chat communities on the internet. I want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard in Bills Mafia. And if we can do that, as long as everyone pulls their weight and hits that thumbs up sign, the sky is the limit for this community. Also, do me a favor. I am nosy and I want to understand where everybody is tuning in from. So roll call in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And let's get a good idea of how far Bills Mafia truly extends. What corner of the continental United States, what corner of the globe are you watching from? Do not be shy. I am talking to the lurkers as well. If you are a lurker, you know who you are. And that's okay. Continue to lurk. But this time and this time only, let me know where you're tuning in from. And fasten your seatbelts, because we have quite a bit to discuss today. I need to give a giant shout out to our proud sponsor, and that just so happens to be our good friend, William Matar. Folks, if you were ever hurt in a car, I strongly encourage you call William Matar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I would never wish a car accident on anybody, but say, for example, it does happen to you. It is imperative to make sure that you have the right guy in your corner. And look no further than our good friend, Will, 844-444-4444. Jordan Phillips. Jordan Phillips. We know who he is. I got to tell you what, it is a mixed bag of how people feel about this situation. Some people are just like, oh, Brandon Beane, he's bringing in his 7-3 tech. He's bringing in his seventh 3 tech defensive tackle, and God knows how long. What is Jordan Phillips to the Bills? It seems like we're moving backwards. And no matter how you feel about it, he's back. His trench coat and all, he is ready to be a depth player. And unfortunately, for those of you that may have been trying to manifest that he is just going to be a practice squad designation, not particularly the case. In fact, he is being added to the 53-man roster based off of every single report that I have seen so far. So what does that mean for the 53? Let's discuss some potential options. Guys, do not be shy. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let's see what's going on. Smash that like button. We have Ohio in the building. We have Oregon, Buffalo strong. That's what I'm talking about. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I love your channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We have Erie, Pennsylvania. Delaware is in the building. Salem, Virginia. TJ Skill is from the moon. All right, man. How's the weather up there nowadays? I love lurking. Alex Stewart says, that's okay. You are more than welcome to lurk, as long as you let me know where you're tuning in from. Suffolk, United Kingdom. Go Bills. What is going on, my friend? Virginia, West by God, Virginia. What is going on? I am in Iowa, my good friend is saying. Deck Tower, Alabama is in the building. Look at that excuse me, deck tower with the Illinois. That is a beautiful thing, man. I love to see it. 15 minutes from Bills Stadium, up by Southwestern. What's going on? Oddly specific. I love it. Utah today. Go Bills. The Wyoming Cowboys. Yo, what's going on? Let's go Buffalo. Hickory, North Carolina. Hamburg is in the building. Chattanooga, Tennessee. I see a lot of the normal faces and familiar faces in here. Welcome to everybody that tunes into each and every single episode. You are the man. Naples, Florida is in the building. Jonathan, that's a beautiful side of the country. I can tell you that. Go Bills. Stay safe, Bob. Don't worry. Bob's going to be safe today for the most part. Sunny Atlanta, Georgia. Huntington Beach. Toronto is in the building. Statesboro, Virginia. Monroe, Michigan is in the building. Rochester, New York. Atlanta, Georgia. Florida. Lackawanna. Arizona in the house. Cumming, Georgia. Newark, New Jersey. And don't pretend like I didn't see you call me Unc earlier, Max. What's going on, buddy? I hope all is well. Florida, El Paso, Texas. Olean, New York. Boston, Massachusetts. All right. Jordan Phillips, a defensive tackle, a veteran, 33 years old, a guy that has largely been a plug-and-play player for us for the past couple of seasons. If Buffalo has had a player that hasn't particularly lived up to expectations, if Buffalo has suffered an injury on the interior defensive line, Jordan Phillips was typically the guy that we gave a call to. But I got to tell you, this year it seems weird. It seems really weird. It's giving me the impression right now that perhaps Beane is thinking about making a move leading up into week one. It really is. Some of us are probably saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we're planning on cutting one of the younger guys. Yeah, I don't know. And so I don't know. I would probably say a lot of us and several people in my X mentions have been suggesting, oh, Dan, maybe it's Dwayne Carter. Maybe he is going to be a roster casualty. And I got to tell you what, it's hard for me to see a front office walking away from a second-year, third-round pick, but it makes a hell of a lot more sense that Buffalo is potentially gearing up for a trade. That makes a lot more sense to me. Because why would we bring in Jordan Phillips, right? Because you already have Daquan Jones, okay? Like, he's a quality one-tech defensive tackle, right? Like, he's doing his thing. We have several 3-techs on this roster, right? Like, we have Ed Oliver. We have TJ Sanders. Okay. We have Dwayne Carter as well. It's hard for me to find a place for everybody in this defensive tackle room. I'm not saying that we're going to go with 6 or 7 defensive tackles. That doesn't make sense to me. So why on earth are we bringing him in? What is on Brandon Beane's mind? Maybe TJ Sanders impressed a hell of a lot more behind closed doors with practices. Maybe we're thinking about moving on from Ed Oliver. Like, maybe we're trying to put him into a conversation for a potential trade for like a game-wrecking type defensive lineman. It's anybody's guess right now. It's quite literally anybody's guess. So I think what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to see what everyone thinks. And yes, I will more than likely bring up the Garage Beer Hotline by the end of today's episode. Let everybody tell me what they're thinking. And we're going to have to see. We have Gunther. I don't know what Big Phil is doing on the roster. There's no room. They have Ed, Daquan starting, TJ, and Walker as their 3 and 4. They also have Ogunjobi and Carter. Look, it's tough. It's tough for me. It is quite literally anybody's guess at this point. It really is. How I'm looking at it is that they are maybe looking to shop around Dwayne Carter. Maybe they're planning on releasing him. Maybe they're planning on walking away from him. Maybe they like what they see in TJ Sanders. Maybe they want to package somebody, send somebody over so that we can bring in perhaps another player, right? Some people are saying Micah Parsons. I doubt that. But would I be shocked? I don't know. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to wait for a little over 24 hours to see what's going on. William is coming in. Did anyone else see the face mask on Shaver's catch? That's stuff we have to work on, even with Davidson provoking Sanders. My favorite morning radio show is on TKW Presents. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Maybe one of the DTs can be trade bait for a cornerback. It's anybody's guess at this point. Why would you trade Oliver? And so it's a great question. I think now all we can do is just connect the dots. I think now all we can do is speculate because, quite frankly, I don't know. I think the only thing that I do know is Brandon Beane is up to something. That is quite literally the only thing that I do know. We have Daquan or Dwayne and a first for Hendrickson. Is that a possibility? I suppose it is, right? Like, we technically could make it work financially. We'd have to we'd have to jump through a lot of hoops in order for that to happen. Like, we would see some sort of cap relief, I believe, if we decided to walk away from Daquan Jones, right? At least from the short term. We'd see a little bit of cap relief if, for example, we walked away from Curtis Samuel, maybe. But it's going to have to be an example. It would quite literally need to be an example of Brandon Beane hopping through as many hoops as possible to make something like that happen. Statement. Larry Ogunjobi's all-22 in training camp was an awful performance, and Dwayne Carter also could be a trade target, but we will hear something Wednesday or Tuesday. Tuesday is the deadline. So I have a feeling that we will be having our answer somewhat tomorrow, and that appears to be the question. He believes that the season that Bill signed Jordan Phillips is that they are shallow defensive line. They have Jones and Oliver, then two rookies with zero NFL experience, and Dwayne Carter. I agree. Yeah, but here's the thing. Who is the odd man out? Because I highly doubt that we're going to be keeping an additional defensive tackle, especially for the 53-man roster. I think there's going to be a shocking move within that specific room. It's got to be either cutting Ogunjobi. I don't think we need to pay him as long as he is cut before week 1, or do you trade Dwayne Carter? I think that could potentially be it as well. We have guys behind Oliver and Jones are rookies. They want a veteran to come on in. Perhaps. Trade package for Duggar from New England. So I got to tell you what. I would love Kyle Duggar. On this squad. His cap hit's about $15 million though. So we would need to make some financial moves in order to make that happen. He's one of my favorite prospects. I do like the way that Cole Bishop played. So the last preseason game, I think that he did show some promise where I think I would feel somewhat comfortable with him going out and starting on week 1. He's a quality safety inside of the box. He's not going to be the safety that is going to be given the nod to be the single high. Say, for example, that Buffalo runs cover 1. That's going to be more of a wrap responsibility. And we are going up against a team that loves to run the football. And Cole Bishop is very good against the run. He's very good at open field tackles. Coverage is more of a question mark. But I'm feeling a bit more comfortable with Cole Bishop. So I'm not sure that with Kyle Duggar would be on the table, especially since we would have to pay the in-division tax, something that I think Brandon Beane is probably going to be a bit more conservative with, if you agreed. No argument to move him outside either, because they have Groot and Jackson, Solomon on one side, and Bosa, Hoyt and Epinesa on the other side. Beane is going to put him at DB with White and Max out. We're going to have Jordan Phillips out there as starting CB2. So someone in the chat brought something interesting. Do we cut Ogunjobi before he even comes back? Maybe. Maybe Larry Ogunjobi was not that impressive this year. In practice, during some of his preseason reps, who knows? Maybe they said, you know what, we're good on Ogunjobi. Have fun finding a team once your suspension is lifted. I think Hoyt obviously earned his role, and that's going to be a conversation later. Or we plan on moving on from Dwayne Carter. I think the Larry Ogunjobi move makes sense. I think it does, but we still have about 24 hours to figure it out. Guys, why would we go after a big name when they are content with bringing Phillips back for the fourth time? Come on. Kyle 941. Yeah, you know what? Like, I'm looking at the financials and I would be shocked. And so I don't particularly think that this move for Jordan Phillips means that we're looking to gear up for a trade, but I believe that it's going to be that we're going to cut a name that a lot of us didn't expect to cut going into week one. And I think where I'm at is either Carter or Ogunjobi. I think that's likely going to be one of those two names. Still a lot left to be discussed. J-Tech, Daquan Jones, and Curtis Samuel for an impact safety and a late draft pick. Folks, I got to tell you, I think Curtis Samuel is going to be on this team. Come on, Buffalo. How you doing? D, I can see a Phillips-Walker pairing, 2 wrecking balls. David's in the building. Curtis and Carter, and a first for Hendrickson. Boom. I'd do it in a second. David is saying that. Dude, don't think a big name's coming. But hey, listen, you know what? I reserve the right to be surprised and thrilled. We have Gore Jr. will most likely be on the practice squad with the release of Young. Yes, most definitely. I think that we can basically etch that in stone. Buffalo fans, cheer their team on. We have to. We have to, man. Question, and do you think they will cut Phillips after the suspensions are served? It's tough to say. It's tough to say. Maybe Buffalo goes on ahead and we just end up releasing Ogunjobi before the season, right? Like maybe we do that before week one. I'm not even sure if you can do that as far as some of the complexities of injuries. Like, and so I don't see why not. Like why we just can't pull the trigger already and just get rid of Ogunjobi before he even serves his suspension in the first place. I don't particularly see that being a problem, and so I reserve the right to be wrong and prove it otherwise. Cut Ogunjobi, trade Dwayne, Daquan, and Curtis Samuel, and bring in a stud corner or game-wrecking defensive line. So one thing I like pointing out, and something that Kevin brought up yesterday during my stream, I feel like a lot of us are concerned about CB2, but I think that we need to understand something. Like we literally have an incredible CB1 and an incredible slot corner. That puts us ahead of the vast majority of secondaries in the NFL. I don't think that Buffalo is as concerned as the fan base is. And so I don't think that Buffalo is as concerned as the fan base is with CB2. I really don't. So I don't think a stud CB2 is going to be in the equation. I suppose depending on what the Tre'Davious White injury looks like we could maybe see a Rasul Douglas, and that would even be a shock for me. And so I think that Buffalo is completely prepared of putting Ingram out there. I don't see Dane Jackson making this team. Like you don't put out a CB2 and make him play nearly the entire final preseason game if your intention was to start him just 2 weeks later during week one. So I don't think that CB2 is as high of a priority to Buffalo as it is to a lot of the fans out there. I think what is more important to us, say that there's any move at all, and I'm still not convinced that there is going to be a major move. Maybe safety. Maybe. But I don't know, man. I really think that Buffalo likes what this team is looking like. And it's not so much an addition, but more so of a subtraction of what this roster looks like. Even if we didn't cut Larry, he doesn't count as a roster spot for sure because he's suspended. Exactly. David Walker is going to be a starter next year. We have John, go Bills, soon to be 6-time AFC East champs. Can we do it? I believe we can. Offsides and encroachment, count on it. No way they would Larry. He would be a huge asset for us. I'm thinking we are trading or cutting Carter, in my opinion. We're going to have to figure it out, Reggie. We're going to have to figure it out. imagine wasting a third-round pick on Carter. And, like, here's the deal. I'm surprised that, like, he hasn't gotten some more love, right? He had a quality college career at Duke. Great college career at Duke. So maybe he's just not fitting within the system. I think that's a question. And so Elijah Moore is going to be cut. Sucks was expecting him to be on the roster. He just couldn't get it together. I feel like a lot of us are on the same page here. I would probably be shocked if Elijah Moore makes this team. I'm still pretty much thinking that 6 guys make it. I really, really do. Some people are thinking 5. I am thinking 6. It would have been 5 if Terrell Shavers didn't ball out right in the preseason. And why I think it's going to be 6, I'm still pretty much on the hill that Chenault is going to make this team. Largely because he's by and large the best kick returner on the squad. Special teams is important to Buffalo. We ultimately ended up firing our last special teams coordinator. And if you don't think that this new special teams coordinator who came out of retirement last year is not going to have a say on this roster, or at least a player that's going to be a special teams contributor, I think you're crazy, right? Chenault is a way better returner than Codrington. He's a better receiver, and he's a better receiver than Codrington is a cornerback. Those two things are true. And one thing I always like pointing out, and something Kevin pointed out yesterday on the show as well, Chris Tabor, our brand new special teams coordinator, he had Laviska Shenault as his kick returner 2 years ago when he was in Carolina, right? Or 3 years ago, I want to say. So I think the receiving room, and we can go on ahead and just pull up this depth chart right now. And we can just pull up this depth chart right now so that we can have an idea. So what I'm thinking is going to happen, we have Shakir, we have Coleman, we have Joshua Palmer, we have Curtis Samuel, because I don't think we're going to find a trade partner with this guy, and releasing him would just be financial mismanagement. I think Terrell Shavers makes his squad, and I think Laviska Shenault, per the request of Chris Tabor, is going to be number 6 for us. And then we move on from Codrington. And with Codrington, he has done quite a bit of the punt returns. I think there's some other players on here that this team trusts. Whether or not it's Shakir or whether or not that it is Laviska Shenault who does it as well, I'm not so sure. But I think Shenault provides more to the team than Codrington does. That's me. Can we talk about Jimmy Charlo? Dude is a beast. William Dinkins, dude. Look, here's the deal. So one thing I like pointing out, especially say that you guys are paying attention to Hard Knocks, like you heard from McDermott himself, straight from the horse's mouth, where he said that there are going to be 3 players that make this team exclusively for special teams purposes. And I think that with Charlo, he's that guy. Like, he is quality with open field tackles. He has made the most out of all of his opportunities. I think that Buffalo ends up riding with 6 linebackers this year. You have Matt Milano, you have Terrell Bernard, you have Dorian Williams, you have Shaq Thompson, Joe Andreessen, and I think Charlo is going to make this team for special teams contributions, and well-deserved, might I say. My second player who makes this team exclusively for special teams contributions is going to be Laviska Shenault. My third player that's going to make this team exclusively for special teams contributions is going to be Solomon, the edge rusher. From there, question, are we thinking that Walker will be a starter in the near future? It's certainly trending that way, man. Listen, he's really living up to the hype. And so a lot of people thought that him being injured in his final year of college was an excuse. But it looks like that has traction, where maybe that was a quality excuse because he's been playing very well, right? Like, dude has actually been playing wonderfully in his 1-tech reps, especially when he's lined up right in the A gap. He's been doing well. And he also has chops in the pass rushing department. I genuinely believe that we're going to be seeing him out there for at least the first half of the season, getting, I don't know, like 20, 30% of the snaps, like rotating with Daquan Jones. And so I feel like that's something Buffalo probably would use. And so I really, really do. as long as he can stay healthy. And I still want him to gain some lower body strength. Like, that's what I'm looking for, but we will see. Can Dane play safety? Not that I'm aware of. Safeties for me when I'm looking at it. Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop. You have Jordan Hancock, who I think is going to be listed as a safety. And Damar Hamlin is going to be making this team as well. We have fonts for fun. And do you think bringing back Poyer or Hyde is better than any safety we currently have? No. Nope. So I think Cole Bishop did enough during that final preseason game to show me that he was ready, right? He's not going to be a kind of guy that's going to excel in coverage. That's not who he is. He's really good in the box. He's a really good downhill tackler. Like, makes some quality angles on his tackles. I think Cole Bishop did enough to prove to Sean McDermott that he deserves to be out there and, of course, be the starting safety, right? So, no, I do not, actually. I still think, especially with how old Poyer is, and Hyde's already retired. He's already retired. So we're going to have to see. Dan, what do you make of Brandon Beane's cryptic assessment of Trey White? Good or bad? Not to worry. So I got to tell you what, I don't particularly think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad. So it was listed as a lower leg injury. So I think that means ankle. He's still saying that they're waiting on the results of the MRI. Normally those things are instant. Like, you know exactly what it is after an MRI. I have a feeling, a very, very good feeling, that this is more of strategy against Baltimore, as into why this has not been announced earlier. I have a feeling that he's going to be good to go. Maybe he misses week 1, and maybe we just roll out with Ingram. But I think that if it was serious and he was going to be missing significant time, like 6+ games, half of the season, or like multiple months, then I think we would have already been made aware. For Tre'Davious White, my guess is his ceiling of him being out is 4 weeks. Ceiling. Floor is he starts on week 1. Have a feeling it was probably just like a lower ankle sprain, and hopefully he goes on ahead and he ices it up and he's out there practicing as much as he possibly can. Come Buffalo, fire up. Let's go get a damn Super Bowl. It's also possible that we trade AJ since it's his last year of money, and we run with 4 edge, 6 defensive tackles since Hoyt comes off of suspension. For sure. It certainly could be. My only devil's advocate approach to that would be, do we want to roll the dice with that, especially with the injury history that Joey Bosa brings to the table? But I suppose anything could happen. Anything could happen. Only way there is no concern at CB2 is we improved on pass rush. Did we do that? I mean, we're going to have to see. So Bosa looked good, especially in like his and so his practice reps and his few reps in the preseason. It sounds like we hit a home run with Sanders and Walker. Sounds like Greg Rousseau has been looking good like he typically does. So on paper, yeah. But I suppose we're not going to see. We have Jays coming in. In my 53-man roster predictions, I have only 5 wide receivers: Shakir, Palmer, Coleman, Samuel, and Shavers. We cut Elijah Moore. I think we can all agree with that it's going to be very difficult for me to find a spot for Elijah Moore on this team right now. It's very difficult for me to do so. I wonder what's going to happen with Shenault. It's hard for me to quit on Shenault due to his contributions on special teams. He's been the most dynamic kick returner as far as statistics, as far as reps. He's a better wide receiver than Brandon Codrington is a cornerback. And also we have to remember that Chris Tabor, that was his kick returner the last time that he was a special teams coordinator. So there's a lot of moving pieces that makes it increasingly difficult for me to say that Shenault is not going to find his way on this roster either. But we'll see. We will see, man. That is why the good Lord makes us play football games. Am I right? Shenault making the team is crazy. We have Dirty Jersey. I mean, I wouldn't say it's crazy, right? Especially for the exact same reasons that I said. He's the best kick returner on the team statistically, like bar none, hands down. And we've heard from Sean McDermott that special teams was something he wanted to pay attention to. We've heard from Sean McDermott that 3 guys are going to make this team exclusively from special teams contributions. We have Chris Tabor, who is normally a top 3, top 5 special teams coordinator in the league. He came out of retirement. I think he's going to have some say on who makes this team. And Chenault, while he's not like the best wide receiver in the world, he's a better receiver than Brandon Codrington as a cornerback. So are we really going to bring Codrington on this team when he's not even the best kick returner on the squad? Maybe. And some people might say, oh, yeah, well, like we saw Codrington take the vast majority of the punt reps or the punt returns. Maybe they were doing that so that they could limit the snaps of Chenault because they knew that he was going to be taking care of everything. Like maybe we have Shakir handle some of the punt returns. That wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. Maybe even Keon Coleman does. Who knows? It's hard for me. It's very hard for me to completely walk away from Chenault. And so I'm not going to confidently say that he doesn't make this team. If he does, or say that he is cut, then okay. It sounds like we're completely fine with just putting out the exact same production as we did last year on special teams. And maybe we think that the problem was the coach and not personnel. So that's me. Question, have you seen that Kyer Elam's been balling out in Dallas and is going to be their starter? I did not hear that he was going to be their starter. If that's the case, good for him. I'm very happy for Kyer Elam, and I really hope that he will be able to be the guy over in Dallas. But I did just hear that Trevon Diggs is cleared, so he's good. So I think it's pretty tough to have Kyer out on the boundary when you have Bland and you have Diggs on the opposite side. Whether or not that they wanted to move him over to a slot corner, I'm not sure. But if that is the case, congratulations. We will see. At best, Samuel is 4 to 5, 8 million for that bad of a value. Cody Benz is coming in. We can always have Ty Johnson return too. True. Would you do a Samuel Ed and a first for Parsons? Michael wants to play for Buffalo, and Jerry Jones loves his Texas-born guys way more than he should. I'm just not trying to buy into anything where I think that we can get a big name coming into this team. I just don't think that it's in the financials. I think Buffalo is actually happy with their roster. I feel like we're super optimistic with Joey Bosa and Rousseau and some of our other guys. I would be shocked. And so I'd be thrilled, but I would be shocked if that was on the table. Tab account. Only way there is no concern at CB2 is we improved our pass rush. Did we do that? Time will tell, my friend. Curtis Samuel is cool. He'll be effective come mid-season. Pez, Chenault and Shavers should be on the team no matter what. Yeah, no, dude. Listen, I think that most of Bills Mafia would riot if, for example, Shavers was not on this squad. I genuinely believe that to be the case. Genuinely. It's hard for me not to see him on the team. But I've seen crazy things happen, man. I have seen crazy things happen. How would you feel if we brought in Shiloh Sanders? I would be shocked. So we're cutting Codrington. That's my thought. Like, that's like my theory. And again, I could be wrong. But I just think that Chenault is a much better kick returner, and he provides way more to the team than with the Brandon Codrington. Because Ogunjobi is out for 6 weeks, he hasn't looked great. Walker needs to be on a pitch count, and Jones is old. We have Oliver 65%, Sanders 35%, Jones 35%, Phillips 30%, Walker 20%, Carter 15%. Yeah, for sure. But like, here's the deal. So like Sean just said, so with Ogunjobi doesn't count toward the roster spot as well. So like that kind of like that makes it even more confusing. Like that makes it more confusing to me. What happens to Elijah Moore? I have a feeling he's either going to be released, or maybe we can end up finding a team that's desperate for a wide receiver And so I think San Francisco would be interested. I think I feel like Green Bay would probably be interested, especially with how many wide receivers are currently injured going into the season. I feel like Las Vegas is always going to be interested in bringing in some more wide receiving help as well. So that's a different question. William, 264 people watching and only 92 likes. Hit that like button. Support the main man, Dan. William, I appreciate you. Folks, as you are coming in, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign. It is the easiest way to show love over here. We want to make sure that we grow this community to one of the largest on the internet of Bills fans that want to stay informed of all of the tidbits of information that comes out of One Bills Drive. And as many of you know, I care about you guys. I want to hear what you think. All right. And so I'm not sitting here just yapping and ignoring the live chat. My channel was built on interacting with each and every single one of you, because without you, where would I be? I agree. Codrington is not great, but we need CB more than wide receiver. And so our secondary is on life support. Yes, but Codrington is bad. He is bad, like at CB, right? So like you look at the cornerback position, you have Trey White. I'm optimistic that it's not a serious injury. Worst case scenario, he's out 2 to 3 weeks. With that, I would feel okay with Ingram coming up. Maxwell Harrison, maybe he starts off on the IR and we don't see him for 4 weeks, but he needs to ramp up and get ready. And that's fine. And we also need to look at our schedule. Once Baltimore is over with, it's a literal breeze. So that's how we look at it. So we have Trey White, we have Max Harrison. Ingram, I believe, makes this team based off of special teams contributions. Benford, obviously, and Dorian Strong. Dane Jackson is going to be gone, right? So if you look at all the corners that we plan on bringing onto the roster, we have Trey White, we have Max Harrison, we have Jamarcus Ingram, we have Christian Benford, we have Dorian Strong. My question then becomes, what are we going to do about Codrington? Who does he replace? And who knows where we're listing Jordan Hancock. We should list him as a safety because I do think that he's a quality safety. I would love for him to eventually take some reps if somebody were to get hurt. But it's, yeah, I don't know. So with that corner he's just not good. He's not good at all. Gunther is coming in. I like Shakir, Coleman, Palmer, Shavers, KJ Hamler, 6 guy. I'd rather have Samuel over Moore. Codrington, right over Chenault because we need more CB help than receiver help. But like he's not qualified, you know what I mean? He's not qualified, you know what I mean? Like say for example that I'm trying to think like we have a law firm and stuff like that. Like we could just imagine this scenario. We have like a top law firm and we are drowning in casework. And we sort of hire a guy that like finished last in his law school class from a university that no longer exists, like an online law school. Let's just say that exists. You still want somebody that can be a contributor, right? Like whether or not that like you need help or not, just because you can play does not mean you should play. And it's tough for me to replace somebody with Brandon Codrington. But again, like I said, he could. But I'm not particularly the best. Walker, say that you want an all-pro. He needs to be developed. Back status is unknown. He seemed to be moving pretty good out there, but we will see. Cognitive is coming. What a waste of a draft pick that would be, though. We have Keontae Key. Cole Bishop did show up Saturday. He's young. He still has plenty of improvement. Like with Cole Bishop, for me, it's always been that he's just had lack of reps. Like that's all it is. Like when you miss most of your 2 training camps in your first 2 years in the NFL, of course you're going to see that. Of course you're going to see that out on the field. Like dude just needs some reps, man. Like, so that was his problem. You could tell that he was an entire different player out there. And he's never going to be the single high safety, folks. He's never going to be the single high safety. He's always going to be the one that's going to be brought up into the box. He's really good against the run. And especially since we're playing Baltimore on week 1, we know that we're going to be getting a heavy dose of Derrick Henry early. So put out the best tacklers we have on this team. And one thing I do like from Cole Bishop is that he is a quality tackler. That much I do give him. So for there, I'm okay. Hey, Dan, quick question. What is your skincare routine? Beef tallow, my friend. Beef tallow is all that I do. us as fans don't know what has actually been seen in practices. And when media is not there, we may be more prepared than we think. I totally agree. They have the results. He's FOS, and they have radiologists on standby for that reason. He's FOS. What is that acronym, my friend? For some reason, I'm not connecting the dots. Maybe it's because I haven't drank enough coffee this morning. We shall see. Bills were spoiled with Poyer and Hyde, and they both had at least 3 years in before Buffalo. Smoke and mirrors, baby. We have Oliver traded. I'm not feeling it. It's tough. It's tough for me to see that as well. Hot take, Ed Oliver is a top 3 worst pick by Beane. He hasn't lived up to the expectations of a top 10 pick and a guy who's supposed to be an explosive pass rush of a defensive tackle. So I think Ed Oliver's good. I don't think that he's the kind of guy that's going to see a massive elevation of a defensive line. He's not going to carry a defensive line. In my opinion, he's only as good as the one tech next to him. But when you have decent one tech play, and not even great one tech play, if you have decent one tech play, you're going to see Ed Oliver make some noise. So I'm not sure if I would agree with you that he's one of the worst first round picks that we've seen within this team. But, I mean, he's been quality. And so he's made some plays for us every now and again. I'm not sure if I buy into that one. And do we still have Ingram? We do have Ingram, and say that Trey is not coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if Ingram was starting CB2. Beane is working on the Parsons trade. Ed Oliver and Epinesa out plus 2 firsts. Parsons is in. We have Derek. Man, dude, my boy is manifesting. He's manifesting. Have you seen that Kyrie Elam has been bowling out in Dallas and will be the starter? I think I already answered that. John has come in. And do you think the Phillips signing says anything about Ed Oliver on the move? I'd be shocked. So I'd be shocked if that was the case. If Ed Oliver is on the move ever, if Ed is ever on the move from this squad, it's next offseason. Because we drafted TJ Sanders, which I thought was redundant. And then we bring in yet another 3 tech, right in Jordan Phillips. And you have Dwayne Carter. So why are we piling this squad up with so many 3 techs? I don't feel comfortable giving the nod to TJ Sanders to take 70 to 80% of the snaps, something that Ed typically does this year. Next year might be a different conversation because that's when his contract is more favorable to move on from. But this year, I can confidently say that Ed Oliver is likely not going anywhere, but that's a different conversations. Vikings need wide receiver depth. More could be a good trade piece. Yeah. And same thing with the Vikings, man. You have San Francisco, you have Minnesota, and you have Las Vegas that I do believe are in the market for a wide receiver. Like we saw how much John Mechie went for, right? So Mechie went from Houston. I'm pretty sure that the Eagles paid a pretty decent amount as well for him. And I got to say, based off of all of the reps we saw from Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore for the past couple of years, I'd probably put them slightly above John Mechie. So I think we might be able to get a bit more for one of those 2 wide receivers than we're willing to admit, right? So I think a lot of us are very fixated on how much it costs to trade for a player on Madden, say, for example. But very oftentimes, trades and trade compensation is never as bad or as good as you think, especially in real life NFL. That's exactly what history at least points to. Another team for Elijah Moore would be the 49ers because their room is in shambles. I did draft Ricky Pearsall in my fantasy football draft in the 9th round, I wanted to say, just a couple of days ago. He's starting on week 1 for me. Let's talk about that. I have Hamler over Samuel beginning the season, just off Samuel being about as available as a cell phone reception in a cave. I did find out, so for the past 3 years, Samuel's only been out like 4 games, right? So that's something to think about. Like that's something like when we talk about Curtis Samuel, like he's been playing hurt for a while. But here, So dude really hasn't been out as much as like we try to say that he is. Like here, let me pull up his season stuff real fast. Yeah. So for the past 3 years, like dude's been virtually available for, I mean, really. So, and with the entire season for the most part. He's been playing hurt though. Like last year, I think his turf toe definitely had some things that he needed to address, but we will see. What are your thoughts on the Patriots safety? Could he be the Buffalo Bills? I love Kyle Duggar. He was actually a player I wanted Buffalo to target just a couple of years ago. Surprisingly enough, I think Buffalo is actually okay with their safety room. And so I know fans are not okay with it, but I think that Buffalo is. And with Kyle Duggar, he would be expensive, especially if, for example, we wanted to do business with the New England Patriots. It's tough for me to see that New England would willingly trade Duggar right over to our team, where number one, we're in not so good of a financial situation. And they would also end up giving us one of the largest positions of need for this team. Like we would need to pay for it. Like what would typically cost, like the Seattle Seahawks, say, for example, maybe Kyle Duggar, maybe he would cost so maybe a fourth and a player. But say that they wanted to do business with the Buffalo Bills, we'd be looking at like a third or a second. Like we would be paying a tax for that to happen. So I'm not thinking he's going to be coming in. Ricky will be wide receiver 1 for over a month and probably the rest of the season. Well, hey man, hopefully that was a sleeper for me. Maybe that was a sleeper for me. We have Derrick Henry will rush for 200 yards with these safeties. Shaking my head. So the thing is with Derrick Henry, man, like he, for the most part, has not had a good career against Sean McDermott in Buffalo. Like he really, really hasn't. And the only times that Derrick Henry has done well against Buffalo was when we had significant injuries all over the field. Obviously, we ended up having that game week 3, week 4 against Derrick where like he absolutely crushed us. Like we were without Bernard, we were without Milano, we were without Benford in that game. We were without a lot of our key contributors on the defensive side of the football. What Derrick Henry was able to do against Buffalo in the playoffs last year is likely what I'm anticipating Derrick Henry does against us on week 1. That's historically sort of what it looks like. And so with Bishop and Taylor Rapp, I definitely wouldn't sleep on either of those two because while Cole Bishop is a question mark in coverage, very good at run defense. He's a very good tackler. He's very physical. He typically takes quality angles. He's gotten a lot better with that. And same thing with Taylor Rapp. Like we know Taylor Rapp, man, he hits hard. He's been actually on the receiving end and on the giving end of him hurting our own players because he plays very difficult. Same thing with Matt Milano. Same thing with Terrell Bernard. Both are quality tacklers. Like what I saw during the preseason. So what I saw during the preseason, it sounds like that like we've had some good reps with our interior defensive tackles and stopping the run. So that's certainly helpful. We've added Bosa as well, who, yes, we know that he brings a lot to the table in pass rush, but he's very good at run defense. And on the opposite side, Greg Rousseau, he is very good against run defense as well. So I don't think that Derrick Henry is going to be like rushing for a crazy amount. 60, 70 yards, maybe, if that. Like barring some crazy injury we could potentially see. I'm not so much worried about Derrick Henry on week 1. I'm really, really not. A lot of it. We have Anthony is coming in. Norman and the long run last season was the anomaly. Yeah, for sure. So for sure, like, so I'm not going to put out the disrespect on Derrick Henry, but for the most part, as long as all of us are healthy, as long as the Buffalo Bills are, for the most part, healthy on the defensive side of the football, like we really haven't seen Derrick Henry have a good career against Buffalo. It's just how it is. It's really average. And his good games were when we had Norman as CB2 and some other injuries. And then last year where we were quite literally in body bags all across. So that side of the ball. And so I believe that they will cut Hardy and Codrington, and they will keep Benford, Harrison, Trey White, Dorian Strong, Hancock, and Jackson. Interesting. Very interesting. We have Nix. You can't just say he's bad by comparing him to all pro players, bro. And you don't know who will be good when drafting and who won't. It's all a gamble. And my guy, oh my God, look at that. Dan. And so I'll send you the link to my Ed Oliver career video. It will shed some light. I would look, dude, I would absolutely love that because so I do need something in the artillery when I hear people just come down on our boy Ed. You know what I mean? So we're going to have to see. We have Norman still feeds the stiff arm. He certainly does. Brent has come in. And do you think Zach Davidson makes it onto the squad? He did have a good game last week. And if one punter goes down, he can punt. I don't think that's going to be enough to like let him get on the squad. I think that we're going with 3 tight ends. I think we're going with Hawes, Knox, and Kincaid. I don't think that we go with 4. I do think that Zach Davidson will be on the practice squad, though, which is ideal. DTN, Spidey Munn, are you referring to the huddle? Oh, dude, where's Spidey Munn? When's the betting channel start, Dan? We got Spidey Munn is coming in. All right, so we are launching a betting show, but it's going to be on the Roundtable Patreon. That is likely going to be starting next week. We end up releasing it. So we have a lot of really, really cool things going on over at the Roundtable Sports channel, man. That much I can tell you. Folks, we have 702 of you in here rocking with me right now, 327 on YouTube, 314 of you on X. As always, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign for me. It's the easiest way to show love. I do my best to consolidate every single piece of information that comes out of one Bills Drive so we could have a daily discussion about it. I pride myself in doing my best to incorporate everybody in the live chat because what makes this channel go is y'all's opinions, not just mine. I'm not going to sit here and yap for an hour and a half and completely ignore the chat. I care about you the most out of anybody on the internet. I promise you that. Say that you enjoy my style of content. I ask you simply just to hit that thumbs up sign. And if you want to, subscribe to the channel as well. Super easy. And who wouldn't want to join our daily discussions Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST? Folks, I got to tell you, I did tease it a bit earlier. I dominated my fantasy football draft last Saturday. And all I could do is thank RotoWire for the assistance. It is the #1 fantasy football draft kit on the market today. Most in-depth analytics. It lets you know what players to stay away from based off of your preferences. As long as you use my code Dan, you will receive 15% off. I love the waiver wire rankings as well. It lets you know what waiver wire pieces you should be bringing, how to plan ahead for bye weeks. Shout out to our good friends over at RotoWire for sponsoring the channel. That much I can appreciate. Connor talks Bills. Dan, who do you think the Bills could trade Dwayne Carter for? I'm thinking he gets traded, but I'd like a player in return for him and not just picks. It's tough, dude. Listen, I think that he has a lot to bring to the table, man. He's a former 3rd-round pick. He had a stellar career over in Duke. Maybe Buffalo just didn't have a spot for him. But then again, man, he could still make this team. Who knows? Maybe Buffalo wants to keep 6 defensive tackles. Maybe that's something that's very important to Buffalo this year. We're going to find out in just about a half hour. Well, excuse me, in more than 24 hours, if you will. I think they're going to let Carter go to keep Phillips. Something is bound to happen. That's the question. Love the show and appreciate your work. Thank you, Da Vinci's Universe. I love you, my friend. Thank you. Question: how worried are you about Miami's top-notch DB room? Very worried. It keeps me up at night. I have been unable to sleep for the past month. Reggie has come in. I like Moore so much. He's so good and so underrated. Yeah, Reggie, it's going to be tough for me to find a spot for him on this roster, right? Say that Shavers did not ball out like he did this preseason, then maybe we would be having a different conversation. But I think where we're at right now, I think that more than likely he's going to be gone. Unfortunately, that's how we see what's going on here. With the Gilliam gets a roster spot because he earns it. And of course, special teams person, this isn't fantasy football. Yes, I do not see a world where Reggie Gilliam is not on this roster. How close do you think we are to McDermott being on the hot seat and Joe Brady taking over? So I think if it was up to the fans, McDermott would be gone if Buffalo does not make it to the Super Bowl. But unfortunately, the fan base has no say in this at all. McDermott, in my opinion, is viewed by the Bills organization the same way that Pittsburgh views Mike Tomlin. I understand Sean does not have a Super Bowl, but I do believe that Sean is consistent enough to where his job is safe for the most part, barring an absolute dumpster fire of a season where he ends up missing the playoffs entirely with Josh Allen healthy. If, for example, we saw some crazy injuries, knock on wood, and he missed the playoffs, I still think he'd have a year. Say that he missed the playoffs even with a healthy Josh Allen, I still think that he would be given the benefit of the doubt. I really do. I really, really do. It's not so much what I would do. It's not so much what John would do. It's not so much what anybody in this chat would do. I do not see this ownership moving on from him. I mean, I just don't. We take that with a grain of salt. But here we are. We have Deshaun Santiago. In your opinion, what would it take to keep Zion Laug and Christian Wilkerson? With Phillips being added to this roster, I think that there's probably less than a 1% chance. With Wilkinson making this team, or Wilkerson, we would need to see like a major off-field injury with one of our starters. And we would also need to keep 7 wide receivers on the roster, which I think is not possible. I don't see either of them doing it. Zion was interesting. Say that Jordan Phillips was not acquired yesterday, I could have entertained it. Now, not so much. But we'll see, man. Oh, I disagree. Damn, my friend. Fans pay for the expensive tickets and the ticket prices plummet and the changes will be made. I don't but so here's the deal. We have seen the Bill Stadium packed out all 17 years of the drought. I don't think that Bills fans would stop buying stuff. I really don't. That's the thing. That is the thing. I really don't think. Like, we could probably have a lot of people talk a big game and say, oh, I'm not going to the games anymore. Guarantee you they would. Could guarantee you they would. I do not think that we have any say. I do not think that Sean is on his way out at all. At all. Red Furnace, why we don't get a bowl. Josh would have 2 rings already with the right coaching guy is the MVP. Like, dude, I mean, it's tough, right? It's tough. Like, we unfortunately have just ran into a dynasty, right? Like, one dynasty dies and another dynasty just rears its ugly head. We look at all of this. We have, so with Josh being the most winningest quarterback in the NFL. So within, so the playoffs without a Super Bowl. He's won the most playoff games without winning a Super Bowl. It's like a weird stat. Like, that's just a Patrick Mahomes stat, right? So I think, so with the ownership, so they're looking at it and they're just like, look, like, we're close. And so it's a game of inches. Like, we're losing by less than a touchdown each and every single playoff appearance against Kansas City. And do we really want to completely blow everything up, set us back a couple of years right before we end up getting back? It's like, look, I'm not saying that I don't agree with you. I'm not saying that I wouldn't entertain a change at the head coaching position, but I know how this team and how this ownership feels about Sean McDermott. He's here. Like, he's here. Trust me. And he'll reel us back in, folks. Like, he'll reel us back in. You already know he would. Like, yeah, we could be pissed off about it again. But say that it didn't happen last year when we lost to Kansas City again. I mean, hell, week 1's already sold out, folks. So week 1's already sold out. So we're all like locked into every single piece of Bills content that drops on our computer screens each and every single morning. We're obsessed with this team. So as long as McDermott continuously makes us a playoff team, it's tough. And so especially with the Sabres, dude, come on. And so the Pagulas are looking over at like the Sabres organization And they are looking at this Buffalo Bills team thinking that this is their damn meal ticket. They're just like, damn, hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. We're not going to roll the dice and go into another drought. Because say that it doesn't work, then we'll see. We have Reggie is coming in. Why are people picking KJ over Moore? That's laughable because Moore's skill set is so damn good and better than a lot of people think. So I don't think either of them make the team, right? So normally we keep 5 and say that we do keep 6. It's going to be a special teams contributor. And Shavers has done so much that I think that he gets the nod, that he ultimately ends up getting the nod. So the only way that Elijah Moore makes this team is if we find a trade partner for Curtis Samuel. That's the only way that he makes this team. And it's still up in the air. It still would be up in the air if that was the case. Say that we kept Samuel just because of the cap hit. That would be a mistake. How much dead cap we carrying on defensive guys this season? If young guys have higher ceilings, then just take the hit, in my opinion. It's tough, right? So we would do it again, but would Brandon Beane do it? Because, so with honestly how I look at it is, you go out and you make a major purchase, right? Like say like you go out and like you buy a brand new truck and then you buy a riding lawnmower, right? And you go out there and you swipe your credit card for both of them. Debt is considered dead cap, meaning you owe that money regardless. That is on your books for financial purposes, etc. Just look at the cap space. I'm trying to think of the best analogy. Look at it as your credit card bill, right? Like look at it as your credit card bill. It's like you go out and like you buy a brand new truck and a riding mower, right? Shout out to riding mowers, by the way. Shout out to riding mowers. Your credit card was able to purchase that asset, right? And I know that cars aren't an asset, okay? But you keep both of them for about a year and you still owe, let's just say you still owe like $5,000 on the lawnmower and you still owe like $30,000 on the truck. You just give the lawnmower away. You're still making payments on that lawnmower. Does that make sense to you from an individual basis? No. It's the exact same way of how you look at dead cap rate in the NFL. That's how you look at it from a business side of things. So sure, like right in the grand scheme of things with all this money in the world, for sure, why not? Let's just take this dead cap hit. But when it's significant and we're still paying the bill or that's still featured on our credit report, it's hard for a team to accept that. It's hard for a team to accept that and move on from a player. Hence why I think Curtis is trade bait right among anything else. That's typically how I look at these things. You guys will finish first in the division, but I'm excited for Drake May versus Allen. Interesting. Me too. Moore's trash, crazy drops, no real reaction speed. Yeah, dude, we have some people that are upset with Elijah Moore. But if the new truck broke and the riding lawnmower still worked, which one are you going to use? So you're still paying for it, right? So that's why. So rather than me just giving away, so rather than me just saying, hey, kid, you can have my riding mower for free, you're going to want to hit Facebook Marketplace and at the very least, like grab some funds from it, right? That's kind of how I look at dead cap. That's sort of how I look at it, and it's the best way of how I can explain it. I'm just confused about Moore because he didn't get a fair shot. Moore would be more efficient than Samuel, in my opinion. I don't know. I thought high on Moore. Some tough stuff, man. Some tough stuff here. Bills have to set the edge against the Ravens. What's great about that, Amy, is that while I have a lot of confidence in Gregory Rousseau in run defense, we also have a player who is very good at run defense, and that's Joey Bosa. He's also a quality run defending edge rusher. Now, what can our interior do about that? That's the question. We have Moore got plenty of chances, plenty. He made more mistakes than just about anyone this preseason. He hasn't done anything in a Bills uniform to deserve a roster spot. He's done enough to get cut. You were going to take the cheap vehicle that still runs. Yeah, but it doesn't change whether or not that, like, you go out and make a bad investment. You're still, it's still on your credit report. It's still on your bill that needs to be paid, right? So I'm not saying that I don't agree with you, but it's largely how NFL front offices look at everything. That's the best analogy I think that I can give. Henry is north and south runner. Edge doesn't mean all that much. Light of truth, I've endured since the 60s. I'm aggravated through 10 seasons losing to the Dolphins, agonized through 4 Super Bowl losses, waited through the drought. I'm disappointed with KC playoff losses, but still here, go Bills. Take the riding lawnmower to the pawn shop. Exactly. Taking the lawnmower to the pawn shop is the exact same thing as an NFL trade. It's the exact same thing as an NFL trade, opposed to just giving it away. Right? So that's why I think that Buffalo is going to retain Curtis Samuel unless they find someone that can eat a lot of that contract and mitigate some of the spend that we would need to pay. Right? It's kind of how I look at all these things. What team will have the biggest surprise cut, and are there any players you're looking out for on Tuesday for the Bills to possibly bring in? What team will have the biggest surprise cut, and are there any players you're looking on for Tuesday for the Bills to possibly bring in? I don't think any sexy names. Say, for example, that Trey can't go. I don't know, maybe Rasul Douglas comes in, like maybe. But I'm still pretty confident. Let me see. We have cognitive. So I know you're right, but I'm saying I'm not the best way to manage a team, which we know because we took hits on Vaughn, Trey, Rasul, and many others. For sure. For sure. Sometimes it's tough making those investments. You know what I mean? And with edge means a ton, keeping outside contain on that Ravens RPO. Doesn't matter if Henry is mostly north to south. Eric has come in. I like the streams when Dan goes over the matchup for the week. Guess what? Those are coming, my friend. Those are coming. All right. Folks, that is going to have to do it for today's episode. I would like to remind everybody that this afternoon at 5 p.m. EST, I am going to be hopping on the Bills Roundtable, which is a brand new channel that was made by Roundtable Sports, my sports media company. We just started. We started doing a couple of different videos. It is myself, it is Z-Bot, it is Kevin Masari, and Jake from Bills Bunker, where we have a roundtable discussion of everything that happens with the Buffalo Bills. That link is actually in the description right now, and I highly recommend that you go subscribe to that channel, and then you also turn on bell notifications because we are going to be having some wonderful conversations. Highly recommend that you go check that out. Again, link is in the description. I'm going to try and be live. So I'm going to try and be live a little before the Bills Roundtable. Hopefully there is some news that we can discuss and I can funnel you guys over right to the show. And then tomorrow, it's going to be difficult for me to be live during the regular time. I will be traveling. Okay. So more than likely, I will not be live at all on Tuesday. So say, for example, that you guys still want to be kept in the loop. Highly recommend that you follow me on one of the 3 or all 3, whatever you prefer. TikTok, with the Instagram and or Facebook at Real Dan Mitchell. That is where I give you all of my instant updates on the Bills, on the NFL. It's my short form content. And then Wednesday, I'm hoping that I will be able to get back into. And then on Wednesday, I'm hoping that I will be able to get back into my normally schedule, but I will be out of town for the remainder of the week and returning on Sunday late evening. So my streaming schedule is going to be a bit sporadic. As long as all of you can go on ahead and subscribe and turn on bell notifications, that should not be an issue. I love all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you later.